Well, here we are at last. The Big Boy. The game a lot of people consider to be the best game of the 8-bit era. I don't think I'd go that far. For one thing, I prefer Super Mario USA to it. But it's a big moment for the Famicom. And Super Mario Bros. 3 was the biggest game since, well, Super Mario Bros. At 3.8 million copies, it was the second best-selling game on the system. And I'm going to avoid talking about it. Look, you're watching a channel that's cataloging Famicom games. You know what Super Mario Bros. 3 is. Instead, there were 3 significant things that all happened effectively simultaneously with the release of Super Mario Bros. 3. It's hard to pin down the exact date for this first one. I have 3 different sources with 3 different dates. But based on the packaging, I believe it had to be either released simultaneously with Super Mario Bros. 3 or a couple weeks afterwards. And that is Nintendo's first online service. The Family Computer Network system was a modem that plugged into the cartridge slot on the Famicom. It also had a special controller that had a number pad on it. With that attached, you could dial into a service to get news, weather, bet on horse racing, and even get game reviews. The online gambling service was built into a cartridge that you plugged into the modem, which makes the Family Computer Network service another Famicom platform. Now, this wasn't the kind of online service where you could log in and play against a friend. It was pretty slow and just fed you some drips of information. It also wasn't the first online console. Atari actually experimented with the concept briefly. The Family Computer Network system was not successful. In the 3 years it was active, it sold about 150,000 units. But if you weren't interested in online gaming as the wave of the future, 5 days after the release of Super Mario Bros. 3, the 16-bit era arrived. Sega released the Mega Drive in Japan on October 28, 1988. Again, the platform wasn't a success in Japan, but the enormous success overseas sustains the Mega Drive for almost a decade. The Famicom's competitors are multiplying, but that enormous install base from the first few years keeps it going. The final big event that accompanied the release of Super Mario Bros. 3 was a complete change in the Famicom's branding. All Famicom cartridges that were licensed by Nintendo now carried the FF logo and Famicom Family branding. Nintendo will continue to use the Family Computer name. It's just that they're now leaning into the shorthand name that people used. And that FF logo acts as the Nintendo seal of quality for Japan. The only licensed products that don't have the FF logo are the ones from legacy publishers who can make their own cartridges. I guess the next question is, what's different about the Famicom version of Super Mario Bros. 3? And the answer is one big thing and lots of little things. Super Mario Bros. 3 came out in Japan around the same time that the US was getting their Super Mario Bros. 2. It would take Nintendo about 2 years to release the third installment in the US, and in that time they did a lot of bug fixes and cleanup, got rid of some of the graphical glitches, improved the performance, and they made the game a lot easier. In the Famicom version, if you get hit while you're wearing a suit, you go all the way down to Small Mario. The US version gives you an extra chance by knocking you back to Big Mario. It's still doable, especially to someone who's gotten used to playing Mario Maker levels, but I was feeling really tired out when I was 3 hours into this play session. Yep, rather than my usual 1 hour recording, I decided to go ahead and go through the whole game. Mainly because I wanted to do my big trick. Now, it had been about 8 years since I had last done this, and of course I had done it on the NES version. But I've beaten the entire game with the frog suit, save the 2 levels where you can't keep the frog suit and complete the stage. So let's see how I do on the high-speed airship. Of course this would be easier with save states or memory hack cheats enabled, but I'm playing on actual hardware with a real cartridge, so those weren't available for me. And I had to carry my frog suits all the way from World 3. That might be the biggest problem with Super Mario Bros. 3. It's just too much game. I'm not a speedrunning wizard with it, so it would take me about 15 minutes to get the frog suits back. not to mention having to clear all of the World 8 stages before the high-speed airship. And there goes the suit. With no passwords or battery save, 3 hours is a reasonable estimate for how long a decent player could take to beat it, assuming they don't warp, of course. Even the 100% speed run takes over an hour. There honestly is too much game in Super Mario Bros. 3. It's a 3 megabit game, only the 4th one on the Famicom so far, and the previous one seemed to use that extra space for just storing lots of graphics. While in Super Mario Bros. 3, it's lots of levels, lots of secrets, lots of power-ups, lots of things to do. Nintendo charged a premium for Super Mario Bros. 3, and it was worth it. It delivered on everything it needed to, and then some. And now, I will rank all 8 worlds in Super Mario Bros. 3. At the bottom of the list, number 8. World 8, Castle of Koopa. It's not that it's hard. I actually think it's a reasonable challenge for the end of the game. My problem is that it's 4 auto-scrollers in a row, and not especially interesting auto-scrollers. Number 7, World 6, Iced Land. It's ice, and it's super long. And unlike some of the other themed worlds, they don't do a lot with the ice theme. I can barely tell any of the World 6 levels apart. Number 6, World 1, Grassland. It does what it needs to. It gets in there, demonstrates the play mechanics, has a few secrets, but nobody's getting super excited over any of these stages. Number 5, World 3, Oceanside. It's not that it's a water world that puts this in the bottom half of my list. In fact, I think World 3's got some very creative stages, including a couple that people usually hate. But there's also some stages that just really drag on. And I really don't like the drawbridge mechanic. Number 4, World 2, Desert Hill. There's some good variety of levels here, but I feel like a lot more could be done with the theme. Number 3, World 4, Big Island. I think everyone was amazed when they reached World 4 and encountered those giant turtles. It's not my favorite world, mainly because I feel like the giant enemies are a little bit glitchy. Number 2, World 5, The Sky. Now here's where they really start getting creative with the mechanics. That transition between the two halves of the world is really great. It's got the shoe level, and the hardest stage in the game, though I'll admit to cheesing it with the P-Wing on this playthrough, mainly in the interest of time. And of course that means number 1 is World 7, Pipe Maze. This feels like the world that World 8 should have been. It's all the crazy stages that break the rules, and do something really different with the game. Just about all of my favorite stages are in World 7. To wrap things up, yeah, Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of the most important games ever released. Even though it's not my number 1 favorite, it is a game I enjoy a lot. Though these days, if I want to replay it, I play the GBA version from the Wii U's Virtual Console. It includes essentially an entire second game's worth of content, some of which had never been officially released before. Still, the Famicom version was first, and this is an all-time classic.